to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first, I don't know that it says it on here, but we should be taking public comment on anything that's under our jurisdiction that's not on the agenda. Does anybody have any public comment on anything that's not on the agenda, but within our jurisdiction? Oh, that's right, that's at the end of the meeting. I'm sorry. Boy, we're just on approval minutes. I'm sorry, I messed up on that one.
I move that we put it on the front of the agenda.
That works.
Is there a second?
If that motion was, if
So
that
there's
motion was just for tonight, not for long term, then.
So there's a motion made.
Tonight, you moved at the beginning and it is included.
There's a motion made by Mark Cornick for tonight to put the public comment at the beginning of the meeting, and it was seconded by Heather.
By Rebecca.
Oh, by Rebecca? Okay, I saw Heather nod her head, so I. So it was seconded by Rebecca for tonight. Any further discussion on moving the public comment to the beginning of the meeting instead of the end of the meeting for tonight? Lance?
I would just say for consistency, we've been putting it at the end, if someone did decide to come in later. Then we've already had public comment.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? No, that's fine. That's fine. Hearing no one in favor, all those opposed?
Aye.
All opposed, so it will go, oh, who's?
Are some of you here for a class? No?
Yes.
I was gonna say that.
Will, how do you vote?
I'll vote aye.
So you're gonna vote in favor or vote opposed?
I will vote opposed.
Thank you. It was unanimously, everybody was in opposition unanimously to make sure the public comment remains at the end of the meeting. Sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was my fault for starting out that way. Well, I have two other entities that I work with where we have public comment at the beginning of the meeting. And so I just rolled with it. Okay, approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Any discussion?
I move to approve.
Second,
Okay, so Mark Cornick moved to approve, and it was seconded by
Diane.
Diane. Okay, to approve the minutes of the March 25th meeting and the March 25 and March 28. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
The approval?
For March.
Yeah, for March.
Well, no, there were two of them up there. They were did I say something other than January?
March.
Okay.
Okay. You're listening, that's very good.
Very rare.
Okay, student reports, Flathead High School. Welcome. And where are you off to right after this?
Well, I'm off to going home to pack.
Good.
Oh, there you are. All right, figured it out. All right, good evening, everyone.
our winter activities. Our basketball season is halfway through their season so far. And our speech and debate just finished up with a third place they finished. And then this upcoming weekend, we have state swimming in Great Falls. And our boys and girls wrestling team will be going to Billings this weekend for the state tournament as well. I'm a wrestler, so I'm pretty excited about that. It'll be really fun. And it'll be like a 3-day tournament. The boys will be going Friday, Saturday, and the girls will be going Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's a pretty long tournament, but it'll be really exciting and fun. And then last weekend, or the weekend before last weekend, we had DECA, which is our business department club, and we went to the state competition at the Fairmont Hot Springs. We had 73 students involved in that. We won the biggest chapter, which means it's the biggest school for most students. So 73 students is pretty big amount for that. And then we also had our snowball dance that concluded our first semester. It was the weekend right after that, right after finals, and we had about 400 students attend the dance. And then we're also getting ready with registration for our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And currently, we have 8 for our 8th grade class coming in. We have like 11 other partner schools, including KMS, and it looks like we have about 400 students so far for our upcoming freshman class. Exciting stuff. Yeah, do you guys have any questions? Yes.
How do you feel about defending your state title?
I think it's gonna be a battle, but if we wrestle the way that we can with our potential, if we wrestle the best we can, I believe we can win it again.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
What about the boys?
What?
What about the boys?
They don't have a shoe in either, you know, they're gonna have to all wrestle up to their training and their potential, but I'm really excited to see how it all goes. I think we've got a great shot.
Yeah.
You had a question too?
Yes, so the girls wrestling is pretty new, right? 1 year, 2 years, something like that?
Yeah, so,
How do you feel?
last year was the first year that, girls wrestling is sanctioned in the state of Montana. So we had our first state championship ever last, winter. And, yeah, we had about, I think, 150 girls in the state, competing last year. And then this year, we have about 250 now. So it increased by 100. And for the girls' competition, it is like all class. So it's AA, A, B, C. So like all like wrestle some girl from like some tiny town in the middle of nowhere or something. But the boys, they're totally separate, like AA, A, B, and C.
So did your weight class change from last year to this year?
Yeah, I wrestled 113 last year, and I'm wrestling 120 this year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And on the snowball, that's a pretty good turnout. That's like almost a third of the school. So were you there? Was it fun?
Yeah, I did go. It was super fun. I think one part that I really enjoyed about it was that it was just so like stress-free. Like I love, like prom's really fun with all the like getting ready and stuff, but it was just a dance. Like it was just for fun and a little like fundraising for student council, and it was like a good after finals time to like hang out with your friends and dance and stuff. So I had a really good time, but yeah. Anyone else?
Thank you very much, and
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Safe travel. Next is KMS with Virginia Smith and Porter Pitts. A kid is technically challenged, technology challenged.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yep.
participating in our pros and junior. And the performances of these plays will be held on March 4th and 5th. Girls basketball is currently in the middle of the season, and the 7th grade girls have 4 teams. And our life skill students are competing for our winter Olympics. Go up to Big Mountain. Friday to practice.
This wrestling, our season of wrestling starts February. The 3 weeks of that will be held at school, and the last 2 weeks will be at, and then the wrestling meets are held on Saturday. We are currently registering for next classes. Last week, there was a curriculum night, for Canada's parents to learn about academics. And 8th graders all went to our high school, for second to register for registration presentation.
So last week we did a woman drive on the. I don't know if you have the slide up. I'm going to explain it to you. Our warming center was basically. They have to turn those people in. Like codes. We decided to host school-wide. So teams could like give in 30, give a
Question, for you, Virginia. How are your teachers preparing you for next year, do you think?
We've been doing a lot of working classes. They are explaining it really well. My math teacher is like starting unit, she says, we're gonna do like our own thing. Like if you're like more advanced in the class, you can go ahead. If you're behind, then you can fall behind, but saying like, go on your own. She's obviously teaching us. That was a good idea.
Are you, yeah.
See where we're at on our own.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am.
That's great.
Are your librarians helping you at all?
No, apparently she's just becoming a coach next week, so,
Not really.
Good answer.
They're behind you, trust me.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we have Glacier High School, and should I say choir or Nathan?
Yeah, they're librarians.
Oh, gee. That's great.
Yep.
Awesome, sweet. Hi, everybody, my name is Nathan Connell. I'm the choir director at Glacier High School. If you don't know who I am, I graduated from Glacier High School, so it's super awesome to be back in the district that I graduated from, so it's just a joy to be back here. Shout out to the middle schoolers and Hanaya, because I think they presented better than I'm going to. Things are going overall for choir Glacier High School in the 3 years that I've been here, things are going really well. We've had some really great things happen kind of in the midst of a few weird years. So we're really excited with where we're at and where we're going. So just to start, I'll give you guys kind of some facts and some numbers just to kind of show you where we're at. When I took over the job in 2019, we had about 160 kids in the choir program, and to start this year, we had about 140. So we're a little bit under that. That, we contribute that, that kind of decline, part of that being our partner schools. A lot of our partner schools did not, have choir last year, or at least they didn't have it through the registration period. And so a lot of those kids who are normally involved with choir just really didn't have it either as a class offering or just on the front of their mind as they were registering for classes last year. So for example, my freshman girls class, the first year I came in was about 52 students. This year it was 25. That's half the size, which is a pretty significant drop. The nice thing has been, like, those kids were the kids who were super dedicated to choir. Like, even if they didn't have it in middle school, they were doing it, so it's been an awesome group of 25. But we have seen some downward trends in the numbers. We've been trying to be proactive in ways to connect with those schools and to kind of recruit. And so one of those things we did last week, we had our first all-city choir concert. So it was Flathead High School, Glacier High School, and KMS. We put on a concert together with our top choirs from Glacier and Flathead, and then the 8th graders from KMS, and it was a huge success. It was based on, the orchestra does this every year with, because Peter teaches both at Flathead and Glacier. He gets his orchestras together to work with the KMS orchestras, and that concert's coming up in February. But we did that for the first time this year as kind of a way to help kind of recruit and hopefully bring some of those numbers up, and that went really well. And then I know both Jennifer and myself presented at our freshman welcome day, and those presentations I think went really well as well. The Echoes Choir, our top small choir, Glacier performed there, and that was great. Let's see. Orchestra and band numbers are pretty similar to pre-COVID, especially band I think has been pretty same throughout. Orchestra dipped last year and then it's back up. Some more numbers. Success of the program, a big part of that is students getting accepted into honor choirs. We have 2 big honor choirs that our students can participate in. One is the MHSA All-State Choir. This year we had 9 students make it, which I believe ties our all-time record at Glacier High School, which is very exciting. And sweet. The other big choir they can make is our All Northwest Choir. So that is a honor choir put on by our National Choir Directors Professional Organization. That is a regional choir that students from Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, students from all 6 states can audition for it. This year we had 10 students make it, which I believe is an all-time record. So we're sending those kids to Spokane to participate in 3 different honor choirs in March. So we're really excited about that. Band and orchestra also had great numbers for All-State this year, which was very exciting. I think we had more in the orchestra than we've had in a while, which was news in the choir program. Since I started 2 years ago, the choir program was built. We had freshman guys and girls choir. We had a sophomore girls choir, and then we had concert choir, which is our junior and senior top choir. So you had girls had to go freshman, sophomore, and then they could audition for a top choir. Guys, after their freshman year, could move straight into that choir. So there was a bit of disparity between the opportunities available to the guys and girls. And so my second year, we changed that sophomore choir to an all sophomore choir. And so all freshmen start separated by voice type. Then all sophomores would matriculate to that sophomore choir, which we call mezzo choir. That was a funny contention between myself and Superintendent Hill, what to call that choir. And he didn't like going to his own choir, unfortunately. And then concert choir is our junior and senior choir. So that's been a change. I think the numbers, again, like I said, have kind of been weird these first few years. But I think it's been overall really successful having that sophomore option as everyone kind of moves up together. So I really liked that. We had a freshman class, I think the year before I started, of over 30 guys, which is awesome. I have not seen those numbers since. This year I have 18, which is not bad. I think Jen Stevens here at Flathead had around 10 in her freshman guys choir. So we're really working on bringing up those numbers again. I started a concert called the AV concert. So in March, or this year, since February, it's in a couple weeks. AV being audio visual. We do a full concert that features visual representations of all of the pieces that we sing. And so it's a way to connect with the art community at Glacier High School. And so each piece will have some type of art, whether that's digital art or a painting. Last year we had a kid do a wood carving for one of the pieces, so it's super cool. We'll do a little art gallery outside of the concert hall, and then we actually project everything up on the screen during the performance. And I think even for the audience, it's really engaging to have kind of visual medium for the kids to kind of be sitting in front of. And so that has been a great success. That's happening this month at Glacier. It's February 24th. So we're excited about that. Jennifer Stevens, choir director here, and I have been collaborative teaching together the past 2 years, which has been great. So we try to once a month. We get busy, and it's been a while since we've been able to do this, but we'll switch. A day we'll all come over and teach with her for a day, and then she'll come over to Glacier and teach with me for a day. And so we really get to kind of play off each other's strengths, especially in choir. It's really hard for me to demonstrate a girl's voice because I don't have one. So I think the girls really having Miss Stevens there every once in a while, even just a couple of times a semester, really makes a big difference for them, and I think it's the same for the guys here at Flathead. I have a lot of fun working with them. So that was supported, I believe, by some type of funding. That's a little bit above my pay grade, but thank you for that. The last kind of biggest thing was we had a composer festival a couple of weeks ago. Last year I met a composer named Josh Riss. He came in and worked with our choirs. I sent him a message that we were performing one of his pieces. He said, I'd love to work with your choir. I said, how about you come out if you're not teaching right now, because he was in Oregon. And so he came out, had a great time, had an idea to do this festival with the Great Falls choirs and our choirs here in Kalispell. And so we brought in Josh Riss and Jake Runstad, who's a big choir composer. Like my barometer is he's a Wikipedia page. So that's where we're at. And they both came in for a couple of days and worked with Flathead, Glacier, Great Falls High, and CMR. So we have 4 schools here, and did 2 days of making music together and working with the composers, which is a super awesome opportunity. So that went really well, and the composers are actually looking to take that model and kind of take it elsewhere. It sounds like they may be doing something like that in Portland in the near future, and they may take this model and kind of run with it, which is super cool. We also did what we called the Choir Cup, which was a fun competition at the end of Sunday for all 4 high schools. We did it here. We did a Mario Kart tournament in the flex room. We did a basketball and dodgeball tournament in the new gym over here. And you could just like win points and see which high school in Glacier won. So that was and then choir tour. I think the trips have to be approved by the board. Am I right in saying that? Yes. So choir tour, my first year, we were going to go to Denver. That got canceled due to COVID. So we actually did a virtual tour that year. I did like a Google Earth tour of Denver that kids could hop on like a Zoom meeting. We Skyped in a couple of recent Glacier grads who were studying the arts in college, and so we did a kind of modified tour for that. Last year, we did a single-day tour to Helena and Bozeman. We went to MSU. We sang at the cathedral at Helena, so that was great. And this year, we're back on tour. So we're doing a 2-part trip. We're going to go see Wicked in Spokane in March, a single-day run, and then we're going to go to Eastern Washington, and we're going to go to Washington State, do a clinic with them, and then go spend some time in Portland and Spokane. So trips are back on, which we're really excited about. Sorry that this is somewhat long. Okay, keep going. Yep, I was wondering if I was moving. Okay, great. News in the music program. Overall, Peter Pamlaevich, the orchestra director between the 2 schools, he switches his FTE between the 2 schools every year. So he is 3 classes at one and 2 classes at the other, and that rotates every year. This year, Peter's 3 classes at Glacier, and so he started a music technology class that's been super popular and it's been full for both sections that have been offered. So this is just kind of another way to get more kids involved in the music program. And this is kind of digital music creation, so think like GarageBand or creating things using recording technology and stuff. Those have both gone really well, I think, and it sounds like that has been really positive. So we're really excited about that. Mr. Barr is starting a beginning band class next year, which is a new offering, and so that will be for kids whether they couldn't due to their middle school not having a band program, whether that's temporarily or long-term. There will be an actual class that they can go into and try an instrument and do that whole kind of beginning band process next year. And I believe that's also going to be the same at Flathead. So that's a new offering that we're excited about. The concert orchestra, so that's the freshman. We only have 2 orchestras at each school instead of 3 levels. So that normally was kind of viewed as the freshman orchestra has kind of been rebranded as a 9 through 12 orchestra class. So that can help retention instead of viewing it as kind of like the lower orchestra and the upper orchestra. There's kind of a like y'all come play orchestra, and then there's the advanced orchestra that comes out of that. So I know Peter was really excited about that. Peter also started a youth orchestra this year. So the orchestra classes themselves just have the string instruments. But a lot of music is written for the strings and like trumpets and trombones and wind instruments, but they don't get to experience that all that often. And so he started a youth orchestra that's open to anyone in the valley, and that meets on Monday nights. And so they've got a full wind section and a string section. I think he's excited to see where that could go. We just got a big upgrade in our performance hall at Glacier High School. We have a new sound system and some new lights and stuff, which has been very, very exciting. And I, started streaming my concerts before COVID, but now that's kind of become standard operating procedure for everybody. We basically stream all of our concerts, and having this new sound equipment has been. Last thing, needs, sorry to go there. So as you guys are looking forward, we have 2 music classrooms at Glacier High School. So 2 music classrooms, 7 periods a day, we have 14 slots for a music class. We have 16 slots being offered right now as classes. So we have 2 classes that are not being run in the music classroom right now. Of those 16 slots, we actually have 8 different sections. So we have choir, orchestra, band, percussion, guitar, history of rock and roll, music theory, and music technology. So we're really excited about all the things that we have to offer our kids and the ways that we can get different kids involved. Whether if you're not interested in choir, band, or orchestra, we've also got ways to get you involved with music, and we know all the awesome things that music does for developing brains. But as you guys are looking forward, I'm sure those conversations are coming, especially if the north end keeps continuing to see the population boom, and if expansion at Glacier happens. I'm just throwing that out there that another music space would really go far for the things that we do. We do a Mackenzie River fundraiser once a month on the last Wednesday of the month to kind of help with our fundraising for the program, which has been great. That helps us offer scholarships for kids for traveling and things like that, which is awesome. And we're going to work on a grant for getting some USB keyboards for our music technology class, and then also for me. Choir, unlike all the other instruments where you have kind of a physical way to kind of interact with your interface with your music, choir, it's all right here. It's all hidden. It's all kind of intuitive. And so as I keep teaching, I think having a physical, tactile way for our kids to kind of experience, like, oh, this is what like a scale kind of like feels like. I want to try and do a little bit more of that. So we're working on applying for some grants for doing some piano. That's basically all that I have. Thank you guys for your support. We believe what we do is changing and bettering the lives of our kids, and your guys' support shows that you guys too. So you guys believe that too. So we just really appreciate that. Check out a concert at some point, even if you don't have a kid involved. We have, I'm actually leaving an orchestra, AA orchestra, festival orchestra tonight at Glacier, so that's happening tonight. We have a band concert on Thursday at Glacier, and then, like I said, we have that audio-visual concert at Glacier on the 24th, which is a Thursday, and it's a 4 and 7 p.m. concert. That's all I have. Thank you, guys. Questions?
You're high energy. How do you burn that energy off?
It doesn't burn off. It's kind of there 24/7, and I don't drink coffee. So it's just there.
Questions?
Yeah.
On the youth symphonic orchestra model of doing mixed instruments and even choir, maybe eventually, hopefully.
Yeah.
Is there any thoughts of bringing that into the school program of having a mixed orchestra within the schools, or are you guys happy with band, orchestra, choir at the moment?
I don't want to speak on Peter's behalf. I think this is something he'd be very interested in. I think that that he would love to do something like that. I think kind of in the way I have echoes in concert choir, so my top kids are in 2 choirs a day. I think that would involve those kids being in 2 classes as well. And Peter being split between the 2 schools, I think that's a little bit prohibitive. And I think that would be like a 3rd class. He would kind of need like 6 periods total to run something like that. But I do think the interest is there, and I think he would love to do something like that. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of in line with what I was going to ask. First of all, it's good that you tell us the thing that you need room. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we need to know. So, bring that. That's always good. Are there things that you don't have room for? I mean, it's kind of like that, like, if you had the 3rd room, what would that do?
Yeah, so right now, basically those 2 classrooms, the biggest uses they have are guitar class, which has a bunch of guitars, orchestra and choir. Those 3 classes are held in the same room right now. And so we have our orchestra instruments are all kind of along one wall, and then they also have a couple of cabinets, and then we have the choir risers and a piano, and chairs get set out every once in a while. And then we have what we're really lacking is like guitar storage. It's kind of like orchestra or guitar, but right now the guitars are just kind of like wherever we can find room for them. So that having a 3rd space, we could make it to band could have its dedicated space, orchestra could have a dedicated space, and then we could probably do guitar and choir because those are less gear intensive. But just having a 3rd space would be able to let us kind of figure figure out what would be the best way to split those basically 4 things into spaces.
Any more questions for Nathan?
I have one more quick question.
Yeah.
Just because you had mentioned that there was a digital music class, and when we were at the listening session, it was something that had gotten brought up. What kind of technology do we have for that class?
So right now, I think they're using one of the art class, like the art labs. So they have a classroom full of Macs that I believe have great software and all the things that we need to make that happen. I think from the very limited amount that I know from Peter, we have like a couple of keyboards that those kids can use, but those kind of get passed around. I think kind of the ideal scenario is that those kids all have a keyboard and then maybe like a microphone, so they can record things so that that's just noises, because you can do that to make beats and stuff, or to actually record like spoken sound or guitar or whatever. But that's another one. I'm so sorry, I don't have the full answer.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I love hearing how interdisciplinary your department's becoming, especially working with the art department, non-performing art department, excuse me.
Yeah.
And you talked about with the English department and with the theater programs or with, other places that you guys are working together.
Totally, yeah. We do a little bit of that. We could definitely do more. I think I have a little bit of an advantage since choir uses language. And so, I do more so with the foreign language department. So if I have a piece that like, let's see, right now, we're working on something in South African, which we don't have that as a class. But when we've done like French or Spanish, especially Spanish stuff, I'll go up there and be like, hey, how do we like pronounce this? Can you tell me kind of what the translation is? And sometimes I'll have them like come in for a period and talk to the class about like, hey, this is where the language comes from, and give them some kind of background. Do a little bit of crossover with theater, especially around musical time, but I want to do more with like acts we're using, and that's kind of part of it. Haven't done a lot with English, but collaboration is one of the things that I really enjoy, just period. So seeking those opportunities out is something that I like to do and continue to do more.
Okay, any additional questions? Hearing none? Oh, yes, Tracy.
Comment, from parent standpoint, one of the top teachers in the district. I would absolutely love it. So thank you so much for all you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now we're on to a building update with Linderman Education Center. Jody, the floor is yours.
Hold it down.
Yeah. Okay. So, normally I come in and I give you guys a bunch of stats and I tell you all about how great Lenderman is. And so this time I thought, well, you might not want to talk to me or listen to me. So I brought 2 great students with me who are going to chat with you, in a few minutes, just about Lenderman. I want to give you a little snapshot of our numbers this year though. So far this year, so we just are starting second semester, we have served 283 students in some sort of capacity. We currently have 157 students enrolled in the LEC side of Lenderman. We have 17 students in the Academic Transition Center of Lenderman. We have 23 students in the Aspire part of Lenderman. This is my sad news, is that we've had 45 drops from the LEC. We have 5 students who have transferred out to other schools where we received transfer requests, and so far we have had 30 graduates this year. So, Lance, when you're doing your math, there's going to be like an off of 5, and that's just because the total enrollment that haven't been moved yet to their section. So just, I knew that someone would do that. And then we have a potential of 8 more students that will be starting at the LEC side next week, 3 for sure, and then we have 5 upcoming enrollment appointments over the next couple days. So we have had a lot of kids that we are serving and coming through, considering that it's just semester time so far. So I want to start and I want to show you a video, and it's the video that Stephanie Hill put together a couple of years ago, when we were looking for the levy, and she did such a great job, and it does a really good job of just the overall of Linderman. And then when we're done with that, I'm gonna bring up Kinsey and Mark, and I have 4 questions that I'm gonna, ask each of them, and just tell you a little bit about why they're there.
not a writing practice, come in, take control, take charge of your education.
Thing I did notice is that I have no pictures of Mark and, I only have pictures of Mark and Dan. I have no pictures of Micah and Kelly in there. So we're gonna work on that this next year when you come over, we're taking pictures. Okay, so this is Kinsey and this is Mark. Come on up. So the first question I have for you is why did you decide to attend Linderman?
So I think it was, the year 2020, I think. It was my, sophomore year. It was about like a quarter in of the way of the school year. I was doing online learning with Glacier. And I was living in a very tough situation. I had checked out a computer with Glacier, but I didn't have Wi-Fi. And I ended up getting to live back with my dad, and he got me into the ATC program. Since I've just been home with it and given a lot of credit.
So so I heard about Linderman, my good friends. I went to Linderman and told me that, that's the reason why I got their high school diploma. So I think it was, freshman and sophomore year, I hated the environment. I think it was a waste of time. So I went to school here in Flathead, and I really didn't. So what my dad always told me, and all of them work construction, always complain about his dad himself, and it's really hard, and that at a young age he told me, go to school, focus on it. And like I really didn't want to go to like to Lenderman. First, I didn't really know if I think it's a wonderful program that you go in for, I think it's like, so it's like, it really like, for myself, I'm gonna get my high school diploma, and that, program really put me through some stressful times, and like, really put me on track to like, really open my eyes up to like, how if I want to get my high school diploma, and if I want to progress in life and better person, better job, I'm gonna have to put in the work, and that like from that point on, I just wanted myself for school.
Mark is a senior and he has 4 credits left, and so he is going to graduate. And he does and he's a little bit stressed about whether, and I'm going to talk about you for a minute, a little bit stressed about whether or not he is going to make it. And our hours are extended, for those that you don't know, when we're open from 8:15 until 5:30, so we have an evening session. And Mark came in and said, is there any way that I can extend my day? So as of Monday, Mark is going from she is gonna be graduating, not this year,
Next year, sometime in November.
very close. She's
Twenty
one.
twenty-two.
So when you're done with graduation requirements at Lenderman, you are done. So if she was to finish tomorrow, she would be graduated tomorrow. So whenever she's done in November, next year she'll be done. So next question. What do you like about Lenderman and how has the program helped you be successful?
One of the main things is in most of the core classes, you want to take, also work online. I really like writing things down. It helps me learn more. It helps. I can't just watch a video or have an example. It or writing it. There's not like a set class or like have to be on Google Classroom. On computer, right?
I think what most helped me, probably the flexibility. Kind of, like how I work, I usually subject and I get it, I have to like work on it or else like, but I mean, I love the way you can focus on what you need to do and go from the it's just like a good environment to be in. Not really stressful. It's where you work at your own pace.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to see added, changed, or more of at Lenderman?
The one question I didn't really have an answer to, because not really. I really like the environment. The way that the teachers kind of let you do your own thing, and if they so everything's pretty much good. I think the one thing would be maybe like has become a problem where they just like rooms and
The bathrooms, right?
they're about to close down one of the bathrooms.
Ask for,
I thought that would cut down on drama.
Like in the house.
Yeah, I thought that would cut down on drama for meeting out.
I said no.
I think, pretty wonderful, but like, I just started woods or construction math, and, I really enjoyed, because I did construction math or woods here at Flathead, and, I really enjoyed, working with wood and building stuff, like, using like, tools, hand tools and stuff, and it's painful, but I mean, I'm still working with wood, so, I love this school.
I do have a list of things that we need, so don't worry.
Oh, well, I was just gonna ask a follow-up question to that, for both of you, in terms of, and I know a fair amount about Linderman and what courses are offered, and you're in construction math, but are there electives or other course offerings that you think would be helpful, beneficial to students at Linderman?
I mean, really like how, construction matters. But I feel like for me personally, it's great to like, I mean, I'm going to Linderman personally just to myself and like get stuff done to. I'm not sure what I would like.
I'm really interested in art, and I think that we have a pretty good art teacher there. And he usually gives a lot of feedback when you turn in art. And basically, I think that the art class, how we have it set up, you basically just, you can be in like art or art poetry kind of class, and you just do whatever you want. You have to correlate with your personal, whatever you want. You don't have to like draw something specific. When you can do a portrait, it's just, you don't have to do a portrait of a person, you can have to just like.
Which is good because that's almost all the electives we have. So we are taking a lot of younger students, 9th and 10th graders in who are coming in with not a lot of credits. And so when you need 6 elective credits, you have a culinary, you have a marketing, that's pretty much what they take early childhood. So to be have more hands-on, more construction. And Mark is right, it's a great construction math class, but it's all hand tools because we don't have a shop. So it is a lot of work on your hands as you're, whatever the tools are, explaining. They're in the process of making the really awesome, incredible workbenches right now, and they are like solid. So, but it is all hand tools, and it's pretty. So on my list is turning the annex into a vocation. On more training within for our students, for the community. We're lucky enough that a few students who still feel connected to their home high school. I have a student who's taking welding. I have a couple students who do away. But it would be nice to be able to offer something more. Okay, next question. What would you like to do after you graduate?
A lot of things that I would like to do, but I know that there's a lot of things that I need to do. Basically, I just need to get a full-time job and save up money, move out and to the real world.
To be honest, I would say this much. I want to go to college. I think it's cool, but like, I hate construction more than. But I want to go to college and.
That is my 4 questions. Do you guys have any questions for Joe?
I have a question for each of you. So when you showed up at Linderman, you got to sit down with Jody, and she probably had a series of questions, and one of them probably included, you have a contract. Make sure you perform. What was that like?
But it's like the. Yeah, I just saw it like in my room the other day.
Remember what the ABCs are? They're not very effective. Mark, do you remember what the ABCs are? Being on a level is not necessary.
Yeah.
Well, at least they don't remember that they may have been scared at me to really roll it. So A, so, oh, be respectful and responsible. And C, you have to complete your request. So if you come to Lenderman and you do your ABCs, you will be fine.
A, there would be. You tend to.
You would hope, yeah.
Attendance includes being responsible.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ursula.
So with the idea of going to college, can students at Linderman do running start? They can. Okay. And do you ever have any that do
Yeah, I
that?
think we have 5 in running start right now.
Okay, so it's the same where they get like the 6 credits that are paid for?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. And do you, I know we have some of the things in Flathead and Glacier with people that can help, like Mike Kelly helps people apply and things like that. Does anybody come and help at Glacier? Are you in charge of that?
We have a .4 graduation coach, and so she does a really good job. She's also my evening teacher. So she does a great job of helping with scholarships, bringing people in, setting up the running start, coordinating with job service. So she does that 2 periods a day, essentially, she's coordinating with.
Perfect, yeah, that was good. And so she does job coaching, is that what you call it?
She's our graduation coach.
Graduation coach. And what does she do with the jobs? Like you said, there was some of it that was college and some of it was.
Yep, so she'll coordinate, so we like every, once a month or a couple times a month, we have job service come in that will do,
That's very nice.
workshops with our students. We have the running start coordinator who comes in once a month to meet with our students. She also does our pre-EP training for our special ed students, so she does that. So anything that just has to do with, once you graduate, what's that next plan?
Yeah, amazing. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Judy, what's going on with the mascot?
The mascot, we were in the paper.
Yes, it's
So, I am working with, a past student, or a student graduate from Glacier, who went into graphic design. And it is the Phoenix, and it's pretty awesome. It's gonna have to be, revised a little bit from what was, the original design, was to make a digital print. But it's a Phoenix, and it's, we will rise. Thank you, Christy.
Awesome.
That's my phone, it's time for me to give my job to medicine. Make sure I'm singing in the background. Any other questions for these two? These two are on our student council. Once we got our full-time counselors, last year we started student council, and so here they are.
So with 4 credits left to go, how long will that take you? Will you be graduating in June or sooner?
So, all depends how it works. I mean, if I work hard, if, like, you're really wanna, Dad wants me to finish sooner, but I just wanna finish.
Our traditional, or like our timeline is about 3 to 3.5 credits a semester, just as they would in a traditional school. But because we are independent, it does vary. It depends on kind of, if they just stick to their minimum weekly goals and move forward, or if they want to work ahead and finish classes.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now on to personnel items. The first one is the action items for resignations, retirements, termination, change of contract, and requests for leave.
This is our standard changes in personnel that we have every board meeting.
Anybody have any questions?
Hearing no questions, entertain a motion to approve the personnel items as presented.
I'll go ahead and do that, Jack. Move to approve the personnel action items as presented.
Motion made by Kim and seconded by Heather. Any further discussion on the personnel action items? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Self-funded insurance update.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, do you want to run your own? Is it scroll down or is it a PowerPoint? It's a PowerPoint, you just. And I'll try not to start coughing, unfortunately.
So we've had some great news, with the insurance committee lately.
Thank you.
As you guys are knowing, and I keep encouraging you, when you see that positive number, when the business manager,
I really do hate this thing. I really do.
when the business manager, reports that positive number, you guys have to clap, because this is just awesome. I'm so excited. First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to the insurance committee, and that includes the members of the board as well. We've had a really busy few years, especially the last couple of years. They've done a tremendous job. This committee is not an easy committee, and for those of you board members that have been on it, it's a very complex committee. And we've had some very serious issues come through, and it's done a lot of work. This year is no exception. And this last fall, we have been busy working on RFPs, and we've done a lot of overhaul to our insurance plan as it relates to a lot of our vendors. And so this fall, we went out for RFP for a lot of our different vendors, including our third-party administrator, our PBM, which is our pharmacy benefit management, our dental insurance, and our life insurance and LTD. I'm going to talk to you just real quick. For those of you, I know a lot of you, this is a review, but a lot of you, this is new to you as well. What is a third-party administrator? So as you know, we are a self-funded health plan. So when anybody asks, who is your insurance carrier, we are our own insurance provider. Kalispell Public Schools is our own insurance provider. So we have to have somebody that administers our self-funded insurance plan for us. So a TPA is a company that handles all of the administrative functions for our self-funded plan. That includes enrolling employees, handling our flex benefits, our claims processing, payment of claims, reporting, record keeping, eligibility, COBRA, and also managing fraud, et cetera. So they kind of do everything that an insurance company would, but they do that for us. So we can still be a school district. We don't have to be an insurance company, but we can still be self-funded. Any questions on what a TPA does, or a third-party administrator? Sorry. Hopefully your husband's not listening. Okay, a pharmacy benefit management plan. So that's a company that manages prescription drug benefits on behalf of the insurer. That's that. So PBMs have significant behind-the-scenes impact in determining total drug costs for insurers, and they shape the patient's access to medication. I use an analogy of Costco. So we go into Costco and we get outstanding deals on coolers and lawn chairs and chicken. And we don't really see the behind-the-scenes deals that they're doing in order to get us those deep discounts. That's exactly what a pharmacy benefit manager does as well. So that's what a PBM does. Then we all know what dental insurance and life insurance and LTD is as well. So the insurance committee evaluated the RFPs. I might have to get closer. Where do we need to point it? Nothing, just.
It's not synced.
There. And they brought these recommendations to the board. And for the first time since I have been with the district, we have a new recommendation for a third-party administrator, and that's Allegiance Benefit Plan Management. They came in with an outstanding bid. It's a 4-year fixed contract, and they bid the contract, most TPAs do this, and it's per employee per month. That's what the PEPM stands for. The reason why they won the bid for the insurance committee is because they have an outstanding integrated customer service model. So they have customer service claims, and their Flex platform is all under one umbrella. So they have just a really good business model. We don't have to go to somebody else for Flex benefits. They have approximately, going with them instead of first choice, we're saving approximately 12.
Up here just a second, this isn't broadcasting.
All right.
You've got to really, well, no, it's not, doesn't mean you.
Like to the people at home can't see it. Oh, would you like me to still continue to talk, or? Okay.
You have a really good PowerPoint, I don't.
I get very excited about insurance, as you guys know.
And allegiance.
And allegiance, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're a cheerleader. Your PowerPoint is so good, and I just don't want.
No problem. Give you the liquor on the front, like, when did you get?
Sunday.
Well, no, the problem is it's not broadcasting out on the internet.
Like, Will can't see your presentation online.
You know, I'm listening, so I don't really need to see the presentation.
Well, but there might be other, there might be other people that are out there that would want to see the presentation also, so it's just not broadcasting out onto the web.
They're the same one.
Okay. Though, if there's no one else out there, I've already reviewed it, so I'm fine.
I'm not gonna make the assumption there's nobody else out there. I'm gonna assume there's somebody out there that wants to pay attention and see the presentation.
PDF, that would be easier to scroll through.
Should we take a 5-minute break while you figure it out?
Sure.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess while this gets figured out. We'll be back at 7:15. Than the full 5 minutes and prior to 7:15, so we're gonna continue on with the Insurance Committee recommendations presented by Tracy Scott.
Okay, back to the exciting slide of Allegiance. So when we made the change, or when we're recommending the change from first choice to Allegiance, we'll also be saving approximately $12,000 annually. And they are also, giving us a $15,000 annual credit as well. And I'll be talking about the use of the credit later on in this presentation. They have a superior medical management platform, and that's where that's where we manage all the high-level cases, you know, when we're dealing with the cancer cases, the diabetes cases. They have a great platform as it relates to that. Excellent risk management monitoring, excellent reporting capabilities. I'm really excited about the, relationship that we're gonna have with Allegiance as it relates to having Scott, Allegiance, and the insurance committee. So
I see how this relationship is gonna work, is that Scott is gonna bring a lot of innovation still, to the committee like he always has. And Allegiance is gonna be able to bring us the reporting capabilities, was talking about that advisor piece. Saying, hey, this is a great idea, I think this is gonna help your plan, or wait a minute, I'm not too sure if we're in a financial position, to bring this on yet. So Allegiance is very well known for their ability, regarding the risk management. When you look at a lot of the plans that they have, and they help manage, Missoula County Public Schools, Helena Public Schools, they have very successful self-funded plans, and they have a huge reserve fund, which we would love to have a huge reserve fund. So I'm excited about that. Strong advisor presence, again, that's what I'm talking about, is having that voice at the table to help us so that we can build our reserve. Strong network. The majority of our costs that our members incur are in-state. They have a very strong network in-state Montana. Very proactive. A lot of times you didn't see first choice at the table, talking to us, taking those proactive steps. We were kind of the ones that were more proactive, asking them to take a more proactive role as it dealt with our members and things like that. You're gonna see a lot, Allegiance taking a lot stronger proactive role. More in-house expertise, less need for bolt-on products. Cancer care was a bolt-on product that we brought forward to help support first choice managed care platforms. We will no longer need cancer care because Allegiance has their own managed care platform with that support, that cancer care piece already built in. Very user-friendly member apps, member services. They've been doing business in the Valley for over 40 years. We talked a little bit about that, Flathead County. They are a Montana State business as well. And this was a novel idea when we sat in the RFP process. They actually have case management. And when I talk about case management, that's when you're actually talking to the nurse. Let's say, for example, you just get a diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis from your doctor. You would call up your Allegiance and you'd say, I just got this diagnosis, I don't even know what to do, I have no idea where to even turn. The customer service rep would talk to you and they'd say, we would like to get you in touch with our case management nurse. We'll have our case management nurse call you next week. By that time, you're so confused, you don't want to be transferred to another person, you don't want to have to wait a week to talk to another individual, you need help now. Allegiance has that nurse attached to our customer service team. So the nurse is sitting right next to that customer service agent that you're talking to right now. So they're gonna say, hey, let me have you talk to Susie right now. Novel idea. And just, we're very excited to see how that's gonna impact. So we're excited to bring Allegiance on. We think it's gonna make some major changes to our plan. Next, I can't wait to see the changes with this recommendation as well. This is our PBM. Providence is what we are recommending, and we have had med impact in the past. PBMs are a little bit of a shell game. So PBMs are a lot like when you go to buy a car and you're trading in your vehicle. You're not too sure how much you're getting for your trade-in. You're not too sure how much you're buying for your car. They're telling you you're getting a good deal, and they're patting you on the shoulder as you're walking out, but you're not necessarily sure if you got a good deal or not. That's how PBMs feel to me. This is a completely different company than I've ever experienced before. First of all, they don't deal in rebates, and that was a huge plus for the committee and for the advisors as well. Rebates are when the PBM company goes to the pharmaceutical company and they make a deal and they say, hey, if you sell this Humira, if you sell this amount of Humira, we're going to give you rebates at the end of the year if you can meet your quota, and we're going to give you rebates, so you're going to get a kickback at the end of the year if you can sell as much.
So then they go to the insurance person, and they say, hey, we need to push this Humira, because we want to make money on the back end. That's not necessarily keeping in mind what is best for the member, right? Because they're looking at the amount of money that they're gonna make on the back end. So rebates may or may not be in the best interest of the member. So Providence doesn't deal with rebates. They are looking at what is best for the member. They are looking at 100% transparent on where every single penny is spent with our RX dollars. So we are looking at savings over med impact, so over our last year's contract. And this will depend, again, this is a variable savings, this isn't a fixed savings. But we're looking to save approximately $188,000 annually over our current PBM contract. They have strong clinical management programs. They also work with, it's called Epic EMR system. And what we're excited about this is this means this is a system that the doctors, the clinics, and the pharmaceutical, or the pharmacies, it's the software system that they are all going to be working under, so they can all talk to each other. And that is a big step, because right now, they don't talk to each other. And so that's a huge opportunity for that level of communication to occur as well. So the other thing that they bring to the table is that they have a connection with the Mayo Clinic. And so we have the ability now with our local clinic for them to be able to contact the Mayo Clinic and be able to bounce circumstances off of, let's say if Chris has a situation coming up and he's not too sure, he can actually call their contact at Mayo Clinic to get some advice on that. So we really like Providence. I think it's going to be a great relationship. We also recommend changing our life and long-term disability. We want to move from Boya to Horace Mann for our life and LTD. This is going to be a savings of about 20.7% over our last year's contract. And they are also going to be providing us an annual credit of $3,756. Again, we'll talk about why the credits are important later on. And then dental, this is kind of an unusual recommendation. We were self-insured under our dental plan, and our dental plan wasn't actually successful. Dental's kind of unusual in the fact that you only use dental if you need it, right? So we weren't necessarily making a lot of money off of our dental plan. And so what we would like to do is to move to a fully insured dental plan with MetLife. We're actually going to have a savings of approximately 2.5% over being self-insured. And that is going to be with a one-year credit of $14,200. Any questions on the recommendations coming from the insurance committee?
These are wholesale changes. Holy cow.
Yeah,
So a lot of work's been gone into this, I take it?
huge.
And how big is the committee and how often do you guys meet?
Committee meets once a month. The core committee, we probably have 7 members that meet every month. The committee's larger than that, but not every member shows up every time. But I'd say the core is about 7.
18?
Is it 18? This is the only recommendation that we're bringing forward tonight that does cost money. When I talked about the credits before, did you have a question on something previously?
I did, just 2 small questions. You talked about a relationship with the Mayo Clinic. Where is the closest Mayo Clinic? Is it reasonable for them to need to visit from here if they had to, or were you talking strictly online consultations, not actual visits?
The Mayo Clinic is housed in Minnesota and in Phoenix, so no, it's online consultation.
You're talking online only. And on the dental, I wasn't quite clear on what we now do for that, if this is talking about just, twice-a-year clinics, or this is talking about more serious dental work and where we
It's a
are
full
now.
dental benefit, so it does include preventative, but it also is a full benefit. So it would include any cost that you would have, and before it was self-funded under our plan, but we were losing money in our dental coverage. So now we're gonna recommend that we go with a full, fully insured plan. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I have a question for Tracy.
Yeah,
So I was
Go ahead,
interested,
Will.
thank you. So I was interested in the business that they're doing in the valley. And you mentioned they do business with the county or in the county. Does that mean the county has this same arrangement?
so Legion's Benefit Plan Management is the TPA for Flathead County. They are also the TPA for Logan Health. They are the TPA for a number of local businesses in the valley. They are the top TPA in the state of Montana. They actually are the TPA for the state of Montana, but they are the top TPA in the state of Montana and have a number of businesses.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tracy.
All right. So back to Benefit Select. This is a software system that's gonna eliminate significant clunky manual entry that we have right now, as it relates to our, enrollment, as it relates to, the management that we have between our vendors and our software system. So right now, we have significant issues when we try to pull data from our system, including any type of census data. And it just has to do with e-finance not being able to pull that data correctly and not being able to get the system to be able to pull it. We have talked to e-finance about it, and it's either a significant cost of customization on the e-finance side or bringing on this system to be able to do it through this software system. The credits that you saw from Allegiance and from the other vendors, we negotiated those credits to offset the cost of purchasing this software. And so with the credits that the different vendors brought forward, the first year cost, I believe, would be, and I apologize, Micah, do you remember? I think the first year cost is gonna be around, it's very minimal, I can't remember. Like maybe 7,500, and then the ongoing cost would be around 24,000. But I know that the first year cost is gonna be minimal. And so, and then this cost would be offset, it would be 70-30, coming from the plan, so it would be through the plan, because it does help support the plan. Now, I do wanna let you know that we are gonna be working with eFinance to double check to make sure. We have talked to them, already to see if they are able to support this functionality, and they have said no.
No.
But Eric wants to go back to them again, just to double check, to make sure that that we are talking the same language. But it's our understanding, based on the conversations that we've had with them in the past, that it would be better to go with this system. So we'd like to bring forward this recommendation and have you approve it tonight, with the understanding that we will be going back just to confirm that this is the best choice. Okay? And then, with that in mind, even with the cost of the software that we're proposing, the hard savings, so we're talking the fixed cost, we're still saving $64,000. That's the fixed savings, so that's the actual reduction in the contracts that we've negotiated, or that if you approve this tonight, that we would be reducing the contracts. It would be by $64,000. The ongoing variable cost is anywhere between $175,000 and $250,000. So Scott said 250, I reduced it down to 175, so I like to be a little bit more conservative. What does it say, under promise and over deliver? That's the variable cost depending on on how things perform. But we just, I'm excited about all the changes. I can't wait to see how this works out. We're headed in a really good direction. So, and I can't remember who said that.
I have a couple of quick questions before you move on.
Yeah, that
With
was never looked at.
the slide before this one, with the management one, not at the meeting, who has been manually inputting?
Bromley.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So it just to pull a census report, it takes you 3 days to manually pull it. So, and that's not manipulating the data to just get it to be the, in the right format of it. So it's a lot of manual entry.
Okay, and then with the next one, that's, like you said, the variable one, that's like potentially year after year?
Yeah,
So the first year has the least savings because we had started.
yeah. So I do want to go back to this because I saw this, so it's also going to be offset by the cost. Cancer care costs about $30,000 annually. And so because we were able to, replace that with Allegiance, that's also an additional cost. So, and a lot of the credits that you've seen, they are going to be, they're going to be recurring as well, as long as we keep those contracts. But we will do our due diligence, with Eric to make sure that we understand that it is an issue with First Choice, or with, e-finance. And that we understand that carefully.
Tracy, can you
Yes.
stay on that slide for a second? And I saw this in, when we talked about it in personnel, but just, I'm wondering on, just looking at that, there's an initial, cost to going with Benefit Select, and then it has a $24,000 annual cost. And you mentioned that trying to do a customization with e-finance would be expensive, but I'm wondering, have we fully vetted what the actual cost to do this in e-finance and trying to run all of our personnel and everything else into that one umbrella before we, start tagging on additional software programs that we're gonna try to have to make talk with? I'm just trying to, like, for the long term, like, if the board votes tonight to say, yeah, we're gonna do this, can we get away from it after a year? Or can we postpone it at least to really try and get what a true cost would be for doing it in e-finance? And would there be, I understand the customization is gonna cost some money, but would there continue to be an annual charge of $24,000 once it's built?
So here's what I understand. So what happened was that Eric was left out of the conversation that Jason and Bromley and e-finance had. So we need to bring, Eric in the loop. It's my understanding that e-finance said that they are not able to do this, but Eric said, Eric wants to double check because he does think that we could have a conversation and maybe they just didn't understand. So I'm trying to kind of regroup. What Eric and I talked about today was that this we would go with, if we talk to e-finance this next week, and e-finance says, oh, absolutely, we can go with this, and it's more cost effective, then we would definitely go with e-finance. But from the initial research that both Bromley and Jason did, e-finance said that they could not. So we would want to have this ready to go, but we would not do this if we go back around and circle back around, and e-finance says, no, we misunderstood what you said, we can absolutely do that. So that's what we want to have happen. But it's my understanding that e-finance says no. So that's kind of where we're at. But Eric was not involved in that original conversation, only Bromley and Jason were.
And I'm
Does
fully,
that make sense?
yeah, I
Eric?
mean, I'm fully supportive of going to
Yeah.
something that, minimizes, potential for human error on data entry.
Yeah.
Because employees would actually be putting their information in, and it's just a huge, time waster for us to be doing all of that work and then being able to go back and pull the data and who's on the plan, who's not, and just tracking everything. But I also, as we're starting to work with e-finance, we probably use 20% of its capabilities and I know there's more, and I'm trying to have everything under one umbrella is what I've.
So we would prefer that, for
Yeah.
sure, because we don't wanna do the both one stuff, so that's why Eric and I talked about it, so that's why I wanted to bring up that caveat. I also wanna let you know that the credits, when I talked to you about that $64,000 savings, that does not include the credits that we talked about, the credits are over and above. And those credits are not special, they're not assigned to the benefit select. So if we were to go to the e-finance piece, and they say that they can do it, we can use those credits for the e-finance as well. So I guess what I would ask is that if you approve it, you would give us a leeway to know that if we can do e-finance, that would be great. Benefits is a better choice, or if e-finance is a better choice, that we can move forward with either one. Everyone good?
Amy, oh, you're still going, you're,
So I just wanted you to see, a couple more things that would be coming down unless you had another.
No.
Okay. So one of the things that you might be hearing, as a board member, is currently we are dealing with a little bit of an issue with our vision. So our vision insurance is supported by VSP. So VSP is the network that our vision insurance is built on, our vision benefits are built on. And VSP and our local vision providers are in a negotiation battle. And, negotiations have failed. And so at this point in time, our providers are saying that they will no longer honor the VSP contract effective March 1st. And so how does that impact our members? Our members signed up for vision benefits effective July 1, with the understanding that if they paid for that vision benefit every month for that price, that they would get this vision benefit, that they would get, the eye exam and the hardware for this price. So if they go to these providers and they say, we are no longer honoring this, then they either have to pay the higher price with that provider, which is significant. So it certainly doesn't really, make any sense that they had insurance in the first place. Or they try to go to another provider that is still honoring the VSP network. But that is not working because they are booked out until after June. And so we are currently, Scott Haas, who is our consultant, is currently working with VSP and our local vision providers to try and fix this issue. And we should know something in the next week or so. But it's not necessarily looking rosy. So at this point in time, we don't know what we're gonna do, but most likely, we will allow those people to drop coverage as of March 1st. One thing that you might hear is that those employees that normally get their, eye exams done in the spring are upset because they paid for the vision benefit all year long, with the understanding that they should have been able to get their eye coverage in the spring, not knowing that the benefit would be interrupted. And so we are working on that. We know that it's coming up, and we're trying to address it. And then, going forward, if they are not able to resolve this issue and they're not able to mend their relationship, we will have to decide how we're going to offer the vision benefits. So we can either go with another carrier, we can offer it, we can fund the benefit ourselves, so self-fund it, or do another option. So we will be coming to you most likely with a vision offer. Any questions on that before I move on?
So I guess I got a little lost. We may have a solution for the people sometime this year still, or no, not?
We may know in the next week or so if we can mend the relationship between VSP and the providers. What we're hoping is that these vision providers will at least honor the contract for the next 3 months,
Okay, that would be good.
but
We don't know.
we don't know.
Okay.
You'll see signs up in some of it's called Vision, by Universal Athletics.
Oh, the vision clinic.
Yeah.
The Vision Clinic has big signs that says we will no longer
Yeah,
honor
I got
VSP as of
I got
March.
an email.
Yes, you did. So, we're working on it, so we don't have an answer yet. Any other questions on it? And then next, you will be having, most likely, a request to add the high deductible health plan back in. As you know, a couple of years ago, that was an option. And it'll have an optional HSA, but it'll be a new improved strategy, and it will not be it will not have an adverse effect to the other plans. So that is what you will be having in the next couple months. And anybody want to know what Bromley's gonna look like?
Yeah.
That's what Bromley's gonna look like. Any questions? We're excited. All right.
Thank you, Tracy. So we have 4 proposed motions in front of you. The first one has to do with the TPA and the pharmacy benefit manager, and that's with Allegiance and Providence. And there's savings with both of those. So that action would be to approve the insurance company recommendation to change the TPA to Allegiance and the pharmacy benefit manager to Providence, as presented.
I make that motion as presented.
Okay, the motion was made by Ursula and seconded by Diane. Any further discussion on the TPA or the PBM? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. The second item is the enrollment software, which we talked about. And it would be to approve the HR department's recommendation to purchase Benefit Select software. But I'm wondering if we shouldn't add a little bit on there that says contingent upon the lower cost analysis of e-finance versus Benefit Elect. And have that be part of the motion. Anybody have any thoughts or comments on that?
I would make a motion like that.
Okay, Ursula made a motion to move to approve the HR department's recommendation to purchase Benefit Select software as presented, contingent upon the lower cost analysis of e-finance versus Benefits Elect.
Well said, Ursula.
Thank you.
And seconded by
I'll second that.
Kim. Any further discussion?
A question.
Yes, Scott.
When, if we were to go with the, benefits elect, when would that go into effect?
It would go into effect when we,
July
do
1st.
all of this. Well, the purchase of it would be a little bit sooner than that, so we can enroll, but
Everything's designed to go in July 1st,
Yeah.
but yes, it'll be nice if Benefit Select or e-finance, whichever works, is effective, I'll say May 1st for participants to enroll in, so that all the information's active by July 1st. Will, do you have any questions?
No?
Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve HR department's recommendation to purchase Benefit Select software as presented, contingent upon the lower cost analysis of e-finance versus Benefit Elect, whichever is better.
Just like I said.
Thank you, Ursula. All in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. The next item is the life and long-term disability insurance recommendation, which each has a savings associated with it. And the motion is to approve the recommendation to change from Voya to Horace Mann for our life and long-term disability.
So moved, Jack.
Scott made the motion, and who seconded? Heather made the second. So on the table is a motion to approve the recommendations to change from Voya to Horace Mann for our life and long-term disability. All in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Now we're on to the dental, and the dental is going to a fully insured program with MetLife so that the plan does not incur any further liabilities like we've been doing. So the insurance, and which has a savings as well as a one-year only credit. The insurance company recommends that we move to a fully insured plan with MetLife. I guess that's it. Anyone want to make the motion?
I move to approve the recommendation to move the district dental insurance to MetLife as presented.
And a second? Lance made the second.
Sure. Can I make a comment too?
Yes, now we're on to discussion.
I just want to thank the administration, HR, and the insurance committee for all their hard work to vet these things. It's great to have this conversation versus where we were 5 years ago. Thank you for staying the course.
Thank you, Lance. So we have in front of us a motion to approve the district dental insurance to MetLife as a fully insured plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Now we're on to Flathead High School Variance to Standards Renewal Application. It's all yours, Callie.
2 years ago, we applied for variance to standards through the Flathead Library. We were understaffed. We were granted by the Board of Public Ed that variance years. We're at the end of the second year, and we are applying for another variance. When you apply the second time around, the variance is good for 3 years. We have standards that we follow. They're OPI standards, Board of Public Ed standards, and we are a .5 FTE short for a library media specialist. And we contend and argue, so far successfully with the Board of Public Ed, that we actually, the sum total of the staffing in the library puts us above the standard. The other thing that works against us when we're looking at just numbers is the Flathead enrollment includes the LEC students. If you were to take those students out of those enrollment counts, we actually are under. But, we have to just take the straight numbers that are tagged for Flathead and call it good. So we are applying for the second variance. And as part of that process, it has to come in front of the board for approval. And then when you approve your minutes at the next board meeting, then I take a copy of the minutes, and there's a rather significant packet that I turn in, which is what that agenda item was. There's a packet and a rubric and all that, and so I will send it in as one mailing to OPI.
Kelly, I have a question. So what would happen then after 3 years? We still have LEC numbers.
I would say that By then, we'll have more staffing because I anticipate that our enrollment will be up. Right now, we're in a weird place because we're on the border.
I'm just having a little, I'm supposed to be tired when I read it, I was having a hard time understanding. So essentially, we have 2 full-time licensed specialists, they want 2.5, but we also have 2 part-time, but they're not licensed. The issue is the non-licensure of the 2 part-time people?
So what we currently have is we have 2 full-time endorsed credentialed library media specialists.
Right.
The standard based on our enrollment requires a 2.5. What we argue is that if you add our paraprofessionals in there that are highly trained in library, that we're more than meeting the standard. But unfortunately, the standard doesn't allow you to, on paper, include those paraprofessionals. I am looking for a motion to approve that variance to the standard application that will be good for 3 years.
I have one more question, Jack.
Go ahead, Scott.
Do all LEC kids count towards Flathead, or just the ones that came from Flathead?
Just the ones that came from Flathead, and then Glacier is tagged with the Glacier one.
Okay, thank you.
But, so I thought that for some of the things, all LACC students were counted at Flathead. It seems like in one of Michelle's, presentations, she said something, she was comparing some Glacier numbers to Flathead numbers, and she was saying that all LEC students were being counted at. Was I a misunderstanding? Has that changed?
No.
But I thought that it was, she was specifically talking about graduation.
When we,
They're tagged
they're
at
tagged
their whole high school.
Okay, and they always have that?
Yeah.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve the Flathead High School variance to standards renewal application.
Jack, I'd make that motion.
Made by Diane and seconded by Kim. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve the Flathead High School variance to standards renewal application?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Now we're on to calendar presentation.
you're on how to share this thing. Your patient. Okay, I think we're good to go. It's that time of year when the district calendar committee has met, and we are in front of you this evening with 2 recommendations. Tonight, I will give you just a tad bit of background information on the process and some of the rules and regulations that we take into account. And then I'm going to spend the majority of the time with those 2 calendar recommendations. One is for the recommendation, school calendar for next year, and then the following year, which would be 23-24. This was thoroughly vetted in the personnel committee meeting the other day. They got the long version. They got every single slide in detail. I'm not going to put you through that again. But I did want to put it in the PowerPoint for the record. You would know, if you weren't at that meeting, how we arrived at our recommendations. My first thing, though, I would like to acknowledge the work of the committee. This committee was the largest committee that, since I have been leading this process that I've had, I asked for volunteers, send out an email now, and anybody and everybody can sign up to be on the committee. You can see we had a lot of returning veterans that had been on the calendar committee before. What was unique about this committee is they really were seasoned in their thought process. They cast a wide net. We challenged our thought process on the best possible way to approach a calendar that would meet the needs of our students, our staff, and our community. We do follow a timeline. You can see this started back in January, and we are in front of the board on February 8th. We've had a lot of input from stakeholders. Background, I'm just going to go real quick through this. We do have KEA language that we have to follow. We also have legal information that we have to follow, and we have board policy that we follow. Your board policy, in many cases, makes our job as a district calendar committee easy, and especially with your board policy 2050. Not all school districts have that. They're still stuck in an old model of just counting seat time, and your progressive thinking on proficiency-based learning and transformational learning, and you have that policy, really made a difference when we were coming up with the calendar. Talks about transformational learning. Just a couple of things. The calendars that are in front of you are for certified staff. They're not administrative calendars. They zero in on the days that certified contracts need to be written for. Our certified contract is for 187 days. The students are only in our buildings for 180. There's a difference of 7 days. And those 7 days, we have a music festival, 2 days of trade-off, and 4 PIR days. I'm going to skip through this. We have, in the curriculum committee, you're aware, because we've had the background training on aggregate hours. It's less of an importance nowadays because of proficiency-based learning. This is just, for the record, a copy of this year's calendar that you approved. Proposals. This is draft number 9 for the calendar for next year. To read this thing, the circle means the first day of school. The circle down here is the last day of school. The yellow highlighted days, those are full PIR days that are actually paid. Certified people are on campus, they're doing work, professional development, and key account. And I have it in parentheses here, there's 5 of those yellow days. The green days are no school, no pay, and there's 17 of them on the calendar. And again, keeping in mind, I'm talking a certified calendar. The purple on here, and there's 2 of them, those are trade-off days. We actually, those are paid days, so November 23rd, which is the day before Thanksgiving, and March 27th, the day that starts spring break, those are actually paid days because the teachers have worked 12 hours outside of their contract. To make up for that, and they get a little extra day in Thanksgiving or the first day of spring break. We do have on November 1st, we have a day tagged for our elementary teachers. They do a full day of parent-teacher conferences that day. The reason it's on November 1st is because it's the day after Halloween. Oh, yeah. And like I said, we bet everything. And then early release, just to highlight that, there are 4 days for early release that are unique. They're not on Wednesday, they're on other days. One of them for next year is on November 3rd. And that early release is for high school parent-teacher conferences. The early release that's on November 11th is currently a placeholder for a speech meet. You may find that we go up to draft number 10 or 11 because it's confirmed in a few months from now that, oh no, that speech meet is gonna be on the 18th, or it'll be on the 4th, or whatever. So it's just a placeholder. We know in there on a Friday, we're gonna have an early release. There are two other unique days. One is January 20th, and that's an early release for the end of semester one, where our teachers, it's a full contract day, but the second part of the day, they are spent on records, inputting grades, making sure their semester exams are corrected and everything's taken care of, and we're ready to start semester two, which is right here. And then the last day of school, the same thing. Teachers are done at the end of that day with their contracts, and so we have a half a day set aside to make sure they get exams taken care of, textbooks checked back in, grades done, et cetera, so they're good to go. And then there's one unique day, and this right now is still a placeholder, and that's April 14th, and that's a no-pay day, it's a full day off for a music festival. To read the fine print on this, because people will say, well, how do you know if there's 187 days? This column, all we've done is we've counted across, and there's 3 paid days. That is the sum total for the month, and that's the running total. So for example, in September, the 5th is a no-pay day, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 days, that's why that's a 4. You add 2, 4, 5, 5, 5, you get 21. 21 plus 3 is 24, so you just keep running totals going across. And all the stars align, you end up with 187 at the end of the calendar. Couple things that, even though you think that we have a lot of flexibility, there's a couple things in here that really aren't that flexible. For example, the committee understands, and they're kind of used to it now, really the start of school is typically this week right here. Sometimes we get the question, well, can we start it here? And the reason the committee settles back into that date is because if we started, in theory, on the 22nd, we could, in fact, be bringing our new staff in for orientation and induction on August 8th, and that's too soon. That's way too soon to bring staff in new. And so this is kind of a happy medium. We did, the year that Glacier opened, we did start after the holiday, but that was because we wanted to make sure that if we had a slow rollout on construction with that new school, that we had a little extra time to get our legs underneath us. Typically, the school district has started right there. Another day that's unique that I point out is on Monday, January 2nd, and that, again, happened this year. People said, why, that's a total waste. Why are we taking that Monday off? There are contracts with some of our units, including administrative contracts, that if the January 1st falls on a weekend, then you have a day off, the nearest neighbor day off, and that pretty much puts it on the 2nd. Spring break, we have an agreement with our partner districts that it's the last full week of March. We're up to draft number 9 with a recommendation from the committee that we do Wednesday early releases, 35 days throughout this school year. We had good debates, a lot of input. We sought out a lot of input on continuing that early releases, and when the committee work was done and the recommendation was on the table, we felt with the direction the district is going with our transformational learning, that those early release times were needed more than ever next year to begin that work. The model that we are currently under, I'd say majority of those early releases are for teachers to get caught up on lesson planning, work with remote students, et cetera. That's probably not going to go away, but a majority of the time will be spent next year with the transitional learning initiatives, and then there will also be professional development tagged on those Wednesdays. The committee was in tune with, the daycare needs. I mean, we thoroughly vetted all that out, but when everything was said and done, with the amount of work this district is gonna go through in the next 5 years, and especially next year, it's a critical year to start to get our heads wrapped around our initiatives. We felt those early releases were of value. The other, this is another piece of information that I have, and if you want, or that I printed off a couple extras, is we always do a one-page summary with the details. And we do this so that, every single staff person knows if this is kind of I lovingly refer to them as a weird day. If there's something here that it's an early release, what are we supposed to be doing? This really talks about, no, at this grade level, here's the reason, here's if it's, if it's a full contract day, if the district is supposed to be doing, professional development and half-day records. So really, like, in detail, here's what everybody's supposed to be doing. And then down here it talks about the placeholders, the 2 trade-off days, flex days, and when the quarter ends. And I would make a comment, for those of you that are kind of new to the world of, school calendars. You might look at this, the first quarter, at high school level had 40 days, and the second one had 48, and it's like, okay, Kelly, why didn't your committee just do the math and even it out, 44 and 44? But it didn't, wasn't smooth on the calendar, but the other real reason on that is you will always try and capture small amount of days on that first quarter, so that the students, if they have struggled transitioning into high school, especially freshmen, that we don't wait too long on them. It's amazing what a week will do. It's like, I want to get that feedback on the grading, on their achievement, where they are, as soon as possible. And then if you notice the, middle school, elementary, that's on trimesters, we were able to ease those out. And then you've got, graduation set, so we're pretty much good to go on that one. And the next one, we refer to that as a skeleton because we don't have the early release days placed on that. And that won't happen until the committee work next year. But if you were to line up this year's calendar, next year's calendar, and the year 23, 24, they're basically the same. And that's just the luck of the draw. The calendars just have worked out that way. Aggregate hours, again, for the record, not as much pressure on that. So really, the next step, the committee is recommending draft number 9 of the calendar 22-23 and draft number 11 for 23-24. And if you're wondering, we did have another calendar in between there. It was draft number 10. It didn't make it out of committee. And those are just the copies for the record of what the big picture was on that. So I'm open for questions. Ursula?
Is there an expectation, like, is the idea that teachers should be able to do all of their work during the school day, lesson planning, grading, or is there an expectation of the time? Essentially?
I don't know if I'd refer to it as an expectation. I think there's a reality that to do what teachers have to do nowadays, I think it's really challenging to squeeze it into the contract day.
Okay.
And it's a challenge.
Okay. And then, like I was thinking with the teacher in here with the music festival day, how does that work? Because those teachers are there.
Correct, and they are on stipends, so that stipend covers that. They're getting paid for that.
Okay. What is that stipend? Is it performance?
It's a music stipend.
Mhm.
And it includes all all the things they do?
Yeah, it includes the performances and extra practices and.
Choir concerts.
Okay.
any other questions for Callie related to, the calendar for each of the next 2 years? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the calendar for 22-23, which is draft number 9 as presented.
I move the calendar 22-23 as presented.
Motion made by Ursula, and who would second that?
I'll second that.
And Mark has seconded it, so we have, before us a motion to approve the 22-23 district calendar, draft number 9 as presented, which includes, early release Wednesdays on a weekly basis. Any further discussion?
Jack, I'd just like to thank the committee and also the explanation. You're a step ahead of me on why we're taking that Wednesday off, but it makes sense. There's gonna be a lot of work and great opportunity to do it.
Thank you, Lance. Any further discussion on the calendar for 22-23 with the early release on a weekly basis? Yes.
I understand how it's hard to, you know, make the first semester match the second semester, but I really do think that having that second semester start a week and a half after break is difficult on the students. I mean, I think finishing a semester, having a break, starting new and fresh in the new semester is really a lot easier on the students, and for those who are choosing to go on to college, it prepares them for that same schedule that they will experience in college. So if at any point we can figure out a way to make those last 2 weeks of the year something different and after finals or whatever, so that the dates match up, I think that would be a good direction to go.
So I'm not quite tracking. Are you talking about first semester?
Yeah, so first semester, in a standard college program, first semester ends, then you have winter break, then you start second semester when you come back in January. And what we have currently is first semester goes till January 12th or so, or mid-January somewhere. And that's very different. You never get that feeling of, I'm finished, I take a break, I refresh, I come back at my new semester ready to roll.
And I understand where you're coming from. The reason we don't put it on our schedule that way is because at semester time, we have a lot of students enrolling new. And we also have a lot of schedule changes, and our counseling department doesn't have an opportunity to make that switch. They need that time, after break to switch gears. And they really get slammed, especially now with a lot of people enrolling. So it's I hear where you're coming from. It'd be nice to be done with the semester, go on break, and doesn't, it makes it a challenge for our counseling department.
Any further discussion on the 22-23 calendar year? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the recommendation number 9 for the 22-23 calendar year, which includes early release Wednesday on a weekly basis? All in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Now we're on to the calendar year 23-24, which is a draft, we'll call it the skeleton draft number 11, which gives an idea of some sideboards for that particular year, with still definition to come a year from now on that. So I would entertain a motion to recommend the 23-24 district calendar draft number, skeleton draft number 11, which includes early releases, but on a monthly basis.
Moved.
Motion made by Lance and seconded by Tim to approve the recommended 23-24 district calendar draft number 11 with early releases on a monthly basis. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Scott?
Callie, I take it there's still a possibility that we could go back to weekly, early releases for the 23-24 calendar. Is that correct?
Possibly. We didn't want to commit that year because there was actually discussion about having late arrivals. We didn't have enough time to fully vet that out. If we were to change our model, we would really have to work with our community. Sort of turn around, so we said, we'll go with the, 23-24 recommendation, your basic skeleton, and that'll buy the committee time.
So do we need to say that the early releases are gonna be monthly, Jack, or do we just do it as a?
That was part of the motion.
I don't know if it needs to be part of the motion, or do we just leave it as a skeleton calendar, priority? Yeah.
Presented.
And I don't know if it makes a difference, but I just wanna make sure that we're clear that we could go on a weekly basis, the calendar committee could go either early releases or late starts.
What's the desire of the board?
I guess my desire would be to make the motion that we approve the 23-24 skeleton draft 11 calendar.
Without addressing early release.
Yes. Because because it's just a skeleton. The calendar committee's gonna go back, do some more work on it, and then bring us another recommendation as to what if there is early releases or late starts, is my understanding.
And that's actually what we did for this year's calendar also, that committee, calendar that come back.
So, Scott has restated the motion to approve the recommended 23-24 district calendar draft number 11 as presented without addressing, early release at all on the calendar. Kim, you seconded it. Do you want to, would you want to second the restatement of the motion?
That would be fine, because it's leaving an option.
Yeah.
Is what you're proposing.
Yes.
Okay,
That
so
makes
we
sense.
restated the motion, and the motion is to approve the recommended 23-24 district calendar draft number 11 as we presented, without any discussion on early releases. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you on behalf of the committee.
Okay, now we're on to shot clock and game clock. Is that you, Micah?
Yep, I'll take that one. So Montana High School Association voted to institute a shot clock in high school basketball. And this is a request, and I don't know why it doesn't have the motion on there, but this is a request to approve the purchase of shot clocks for Glacier High School. They will be putting them on the varsity court, the two end zones of the varsity court, but then also on the side courts as well. So it's a rule now with MHSA, that you have them. There are lots of different options and models. You can have floor ones, you can have them up on your scoreboards, you can have them on your hoops. These are intended to be installed on the hoops.
Okay, so there's
Before we make a motion on this?
oh, sure.
So why would this not be going towards last time? Why would this be coming to the board? Why isn't this the responsibility of the, why in your mind do you think that this is a board budget issue, not a, building level wide budget issue?
Because it's over $10,000.
That's a board
Did I
policy.
misread? I thought it said 3,000.
It's not actually a policy.
Well, it's been a practice.
Ah,
$12,178.
I must have misread it.
Well, you read just the, receivers for $3,000.
I wasn't even willing to give them 2,000.
And so what budget does it come out of?
The school's block grant.
Okay, so it is coming out of school,
Yes,
$10,000.
that's,
Is that correct?
Oh, they're not asking for the board to be paying for these, they're arguing about it. Okay.
We're just
this is coming out of the block grant,
I
right?
completely misunderstood this.
Is that
What's
accurate?
that?
This,
So.
this is coming out of the block
where's
grant.
money coming from?
This one was coming out of, I think it's coming out of Legends. The,
Yeah.
fund,
It
the,
was.
advertising revenue.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the expenditure of $12,178 by Glacier High School for, shot clock and game clock out of, their fundraising advertising dollars.
Also moved.
Rebecca made the motion and Ursula seconded it. Any further discussion?
I do have a question, Jack.
Go ahead, Will.
It's not so much for Glacier High School, but what's the situation with shot clocks for Flathead?
I'm anticipating that we'll see something like this come back through finance and the full board for Flathead High School. When Mark sent this in, Bryce didn't have it, ready to go yet, so we're just moving this one forward, but I would expect to see the same.
Okay, thanks.
We have in front of us then a motion to approve $12,178 for a shot clock and game clock for Glacier High School paid out of their advertising, revenue. Any further discussion?
I think.
Ursula made the second. Yes, Rebecca?
I thought you said this was coming out of Legends money, which is both Glacier and Flathead, is that, so, the Flathead money would come out of the same? I guess I'm not sure about how Legends works, for both schools, and this is for one school only?
It's divided equally, whatever the revenues are, and then they can spend it on, projects that are beneficial to Legends, in particular that complex, or they can use it for, and have used it for individual projects or needs within the building.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Now we're on to the Toro Sand Pro equipment request from Glacier High School.
This was a request from, Mr. Dennehy to purchase basically it's a three-wheeler, that you can attach, many different implements to. Glacier has their own softball fields that they're responsible for, grooming and keeping up, and, during the course of play and different things, the material of the infield moves around, and then they have to put it back, or at least attempt to. And that little, yep, there it is, that little device with a, attachment on the front of it would be used to help maintain those. You know, where we might be using, say, Kids Sport for an event, they have their own equipment, we don't have the right equipment. We basically use a four-wheeler and a piece of chain link fence and drag it around in circles. It's just not the right piece of equipment to be doing it. It kind of does the job to a certain degree, but it doesn't always do the job. This is, the tool and the attachment is $23,179.
Funded through,
Part of it.
Yeah, I think part of it was Legends, and then the other was student activity account.
okay, I would entertain a motion to approve Glacier High School's request for Toro Sand Pro equipment in the amount of $23,179.
Moved.
Lance made the motion, and who's seconding the motion?
I'll second.
Scott is seconding, so we have in front of us a motion to approve $23,179 for Toro Sand Pro equipment for Glacier High School. Any further discussion?
Jack, I'll just make a comment that, this piece of equipment will be used for more than just the softball fields. It can be used for their, shot put area, and also, MHSA has recently approved, baseball for, high school, so, when we get that, I'm sure it'll be used for that as well, so.
Good point, Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. ATS bid for Edgerton. Greg, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jack. So this is the central control monitoring upgrade for Edgerton. So right now, we are aged out there. We can't really. That is a whole system where we log on every day. And it's an issue with it. We've had it looked at several times, and we just need to upgrade it. And also, this is step one. Just forewarning. So this is step one. We need to upgrade all the controls. That's a thermostat, that's some wiring, that's some VAV stuff, heating and cooling stuff. And that boiler out there is severely undersized for that building. Size did not change. Getting by. We're 5-degree range when it's 10 below, but that's, we're working that system at 100%. So this is the first step. This will actually use their system to monitor. Fine, this will probably be done, just to give you a little bit more information, this will be done in like 2 steps. Start running some of the wiring and stuff, probably immediately. Don't really want to touch this system in the wintertime, because if something happens, talk extensively with, Wyman there. Again, step one.
And the funding for this will be?
Elementary reserve. Building reserve? Yeah.
Thank you.
Greg, I have a question. So you're saying 2 steps, so that by the beginning of the next school year, it'll be a regulated heat through the building?
Okay, so we have heat.
My daughter works there, so I know how cold it is. And it's no heat.
What's happening right now is we're having a difficult time controlling the system out there, because thermostats are outdated, the VAVs are outdated, it's not talking to our system. So, ATS has a better system. I mean, so basically the system that's in there, we're gonna replace it with all the updated stuff. It's brand for the most part. And then as we go forward, not to get too technical on it, but there's like heating valves and stuff that won't open all the way, because they can't, because we don't have enough volume. And so when I tell you it's 64 degrees in a room, it's 52 degrees in that room probably, but we can't get any more heat to it. It's maxed out. The system's running at 105%. I know it makes no sense, but that's a Wyman. So as we upgrade the wiring and all the electronic stuff to talk to the system, that means that we will go in and put in a new system. We can use the old boiler. So there's 2 boilers out there. There's a gas-fired boiler, there's an electric boiler. They're both running, trying to keep that.
But like you said, the building's bigger than what the boiler can do.
Building's too big.
So beginning of the new school year, come August, the end of August, it will be functional.
So
So
our
for next
control
winter.
system will be functional.
Okay.
The next process will be to start looking at the I mean, the boiler's not that expensive, I mean, that expensive. Have that sized out, but the system that we're gonna put in will cover everything. And it's going to be, there's gonna be a little overkill on the system, we talked about this, because, new fire code and all that stuff is they're gonna want the, CO2 monitors on the thermostat and all that stuff. Don't have to do that, but this price, that includes them.
Thank you.
So Greg, if what I'm hearing, the answer is no, she's not gonna be any more comfortable next school year because the plumbing and the boilers still have to be upgraded.
Well, I don't know, we might buy a new boiler, Jack, I mean, you never know.
Well, no, it just means there's gonna be more money needing to be spent out of the elementary
Correct.
building
So,
reserve to
correct.
update everything at Edgerton.
Correct, and if we wait, and that's kind of why I actually got this bid a while ago, and we just kind of, not a huge issue, not that it's not a huge issue, but we're trying to just kind of get by this year, but as the costs go up, then everything's going up by 10 to 20. So this is gonna lock them in no matter what, we're done. You know, hopefully they'll start probably in March or April running the wiring. It's just gonna be two guys, they're gonna go in, there won't be any interruption to the classrooms, any of that stuff, the students won't be affected. Quietly, professionally. Working on the boiler right now.
This is an elementary, item, so I would entertain a motion to approve the expenditure of $140,886 for central control and monitoring upgrade for Edgerton School to be paid for out of the elementary building reserve fund.
I'll make that motion as Jack presented.
Kim made the motion, and who seconded it? Rebecca seconded it. So elementary trustees, you get the vote on expending the $140,886 for central control and monitoring upgrade for Edgerton School to be spent, to come out of the elementary building reserve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Will, you're not part of it.
Yeah, I know, thank
Motion-
you.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We're now on to a district-wide consent agenda.
And the only thing on there is bus driver certification list.
Okay,
Jack, I'd move to the consent agenda as presented.
Second that.
Lance made the motion, seconded by Diane, to approve the district-wide consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Will, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Trustee reports. We'll start with Heather.
I have no report.
Thank you.
I have no report, but I do have a comment. I was very thrilled to hear Micah on your KGEZ podcast yesterday. I thought the host asked some really great questions that really helped the board's cause and getting a lot of things for the community to understand. So I thought it was great. So,
Thank you.
I guess their report, except the usual science fair's coming up. Next week, the elementary fair starts happening, so hopefully those will all go beautifully. And, the ones that are during the school day, they often do want adult judges, so if anyone feels like talking to kids about their work. And then the week after is county, so I hope all of you who can are judging, and I hope it'll be a great time.
I took advantage of a great tour through Peterson Elementary today, provided by Harry Ketchum. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's where my kids went to school, and, since they left, I haven't really been back. So it was great to see some, old faces, and just the improvements. I mean, they fully utilized that building to its fullest extent. And right now, it's fortunate that they're not at full capacity, so maybe they have a little excess room, but it doesn't go unused. Great to see Peterson.
Nothing to report.
I just want to thank Micah and your staff for, again, your leadership that you've provided for COVID. I just heard on the news today that there's still school districts fighting over masks and, you know, whether to wear them, whether to not wear them, and, you know, just whichever way we fell, it was your leadership that has really made it great for this community, because you listened to them, and I believe that you're doing what you feel is best for our district and our community, so I just applaud you for that.
The first thing, Rebecca, I'm like, is anyone say, they are doing national qualifiers for speech and debate, and I'm looking for judges for that as well. So I'm like, you know, I don't know if it's a competition here. I'm trying to think if it's the same weekend.
Yeah, I think first event sounds good, great.
Okay, so they're looking for judges for that. And then the other thing that I just wanted to mention, and, you know, without putting in my opinion or anything, is just that, the library has been in the news a lot, and we have talked before that the school district and the library have tried to work together, and, that, you know, it's another source of learning and support for particularly vulnerable, low-income people in the community. And I was just gonna kind of put it on everybody's radar to kind of look into what's happening in the library. And I'm very thankful that that is not what's happening right now here anymore. We had our moment where things were tense at our meetings a lot, and they are having a lot of very tense board meetings and things like that. And I think that some of the stress at the library, you know, losing people because there's a lot of conflict and they don't want to work in that situation, I think does trickle into the lives of students in our district that we might not be aware of. Things like the girl from LEC who said she needed somewhere to use the internet. So
I have the gyroscope. And, I didn't realize how long I knew the person that, I thought it was maybe only 20 years, but it might be 25, 26 years that I'm gonna present this to. And it's somebody that I even coached a team with. And being strictly a referee, that was its own unusual experience for something like that. But and I had to look up the gyroscope. I know we've heard what Sue has said, but it's interesting how it's designed to be a stabilizing force related to gravity on the Earth as you move around the Earth. So it's a very purposeful instrument to both stabilize things and ground things. And it's very integral to a lot of things, whether even your cell phone or tablet, because of the way it moves around a lot to stabilize it. So this is going to somebody that's been a quiet force, that's been around for a long time, and participates in a lot of things. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Jack. Oh, I can give it in a month, is that right?
yeah, you can't lose it. And I'll warn you, my kids, they lost parts of it. I had to find them.
Now we're on to administrative reports. And is Matt gonna do his remotely? No.
No.
Callie?
I'm good, thank you.
Micah?
Thank you for recognizing me, Jack. I have not talked very much tonight. Thank you,
Let's
Rebecca,
keep it that way.
clapping like that. Thank you for that, Rebecca.
No, thanks. I
So
was glad you're not being
in that sense, I'm going to give the administrative report for the clerk, and business director, and then as the superintendent. Just a quick update on, construction, the transportation and maintenance building. Things are moving forward. We've got some things settled, and then we've had some new things kind of come up that we're working through, but, all positive there. We got our audit report back this week, the preliminary report, and it was very favorable for the district. We had two, exceptions, that we have previously had, and so, not a whole lot there. When I send you the 90-page report, I'm going to give you a hint. The shortcut is just go to the last couple of pages. That's where the exceptions are. We have been working today. We spent about 5 hours working on actually putting our budget into e-finance instead of on a spreadsheet all the time that someone has to kind of update, like, okay, who's got what? We're trying to utilize a product that we pay a fair amount of money for. So Eric and Delia and Joe and I met for quite some time today, and the only budget we worked on, one tab, was the maintenance and operations budget. So that Greg actually knows how much he's spending and how much he has left. And so that's actually been quite fun, and we've caught some things that we know we can make work better for us. I was fortunate enough this past weekend to go to IV training in Savannah, Georgia. The good news is Savannah's a really cool town. The bad news is I think it was warmer in Kalispell than it was there. The first day was 78 degrees, and then it was in the 40s and raining. So, but the training was leadership through the lens of International Baccalaureate, and was very, very good. I was able to go with Kelly Higgins, who is absolutely amazing in her role and her job, and then also Andrew Steiger, one of the new assistant principals, and Michelle Payne. So very productive, and have some things that I'm going to be able to bring back to our administrative team. Whether you're IB or not, these are just good, sound principles and leadership. We are also starting to work on our ESSER compliance report. And when I say we, I mean, she called me into her office yesterday and said, Micah, you're going to jail. Seriously. And I'm like, how come? And she said, well, I went through and I was just trying to see what was going on in this report and all these things that we were going to have to report, and now it just wants me to submit it, and if I submit it, I can't edit, and I can't do anything. So we're working through that, but we've got.
You're not going to jail.
Well, and then last thing is we have been, as part of our data collection and just for our own information and about our district, we've been sending out student surveys on climate, how they feel about school. We had about 98%, 99% of all of our students complete the survey, and we've got it broken out by school and then by district with really good information, but we also want to, at some point, share all of that information with you as we move forward in the strategic planning process so that you have a good sense of where things are at from a student perspective. And then we sent out a climate survey to our staff on Monday, and we have so far collected 227 responses to that. And so that'll become part of the information that we collate after, including the listening sessions, when we start working with Darlene on that. We're excited about that.
Micah, did you get good feedback from the email survey or the survey you sent out?
Yeah, we had over 650 responses to that one for the listening session. So it was a really good response there. That's all I got.
And Mike is not done yet, because now he gets to speak about safe return to schools and continuity of service plan.
Well, I kind of touched on that in the ESSER compliance report. We'll actually be referring back to that plan as we start putting in our data, and that's really looking at how much money ESSER related was spent between this date and this date, and then in what categories were those spent. So we'll be pulling a lot of information from that, doing a lot of cutting and pasting. It's gonna be a pretty laborious, project, and so Callie's booked like 4 days solid for us to, work on it. I don't know if it'll take that long, but we're prepared.
Lunch.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna get lunch out of it. Yeah. Then the COVID update.
Yes.
So on the COVID update, you can see, I just wanted to show you our, well, let's go with the ADA first, the weekly ADA. So Kyra runs this report for me, looking at our average daily attendance by week. You can see that we've, predominantly hovered in that 90% range. We'd still really like to see better than that, but that seems to be kind of where we've landed. That part of it's good. That's just one of those metrics we wanted to track. But the difference between 88 and 90% is actually pretty significant, when you talk, just individual students. So, we'll continue to provide that update to the board as we go along this year. And then the other piece was the update on just the positive cases. This was from last week, and I pulled the numbers, just a couple of minutes ago. And we're currently at 5 staff out with COVID and 4 students. So we have 9 total people in our district, currently. The other thing I would say is we're back up and running, close to full capacity with our testing sites. We're able to, get those up and running again. There was a testing shortage, and then we've been able to get more. Continuing to manage all of that as well. And that's all.
Thank you, Micah. Now we're at that time for public comment. Anybody interested in addressing the board on matters that are within the jurisdiction of the board, but not on the agenda? Is there anybody online, Eric? Pardon?
We could have moved it to the.
No, it's better what we did.
It's better, it's better.
I was
genius.
I was brain dead on that one.
Then I thought about it, that probably.
So that was a good move, Lance. Anybody, Eric? Okay, nobody's online and no public comment. And there are upcoming meetings that are identified there for on the screen up front. And with that, I'm accustomed to just saying, general consensus is we're going to adjourn at 8:46 instead of having a vote, unless somebody's really opposed to that.
Let's vote on whether we're opposed to voting.
We're adjourned.
Good night, all.
Okay.
Thank you all.
I know, I've never had to vote on adjourning the meeting.